As the philosopher RuPaul once said, "We all came into this world naked, and the rest is drag." We all came into this world naked, and the same goes for motorcycles. The term naked bike didn't even need to be used as a descriptor until we invented the clothes for motorcycles in the first place, and we call these fairings. Fairings are most commonly made of ABS plastic, but they can also be made of fiberglass and even carbon fiber if you've got some money to burn. There are of course a lot of benefits of having fairings on your motorcycle. They will reduce the drag that comes from airflow, which will then improve fuel consumption, and you'll be able to reach higher speeds at lower RPM. And aside from this aerodynamic function, they can also serve a protective one for your engine components. There are some downsides to fairings as well. They can reduce ground clearance, they can be very costly to replace when damaged, they can take up more space around the bike than the core of the bike would otherwise, and that can make it a little bit more challenging to store it, and some people consider them aesthetically unappealing. The alternative for the contemporary rider is the naked bike. So, what exactly is a naked bike? According to Robert Hochman Jr., author of The Build, naked bikes are flexible daily riders built for life around town, afternoon rides, or whatever you want to do on a paved road. These motorcycles are most often defined by what they are not. In comparison to sport performance bikes, naked bikes are often stripped down to the essentials. They'll have little to no fairings, streamlining or camouflaging parts of the bike. They're almost never seen with a substantial windscreen or with a lot of the plastic accoutrements that are dressing a lot of other modern motorcycles. Now, when it comes to naked bikes, there are of course subcategorizations. You have street trackers, cafe racers, street trackers, cafe racers, brats, bobbers, and of course many cruisers, so long as they don't have all those bits and bobs that you might find on some cruisers. Quite often, naked bikes will have a retro or vintage feel thanks to the nostalgic treatment, especially when it comes to modern classics. Of course, this is because all bikes used to be naked. But a wrench has been metaphorically thrown into this retro sentiment with the advent of street fighter motorcycles. These are just as naked as modern classics, but they have a far more aggressive styling and are a distinctly contemporary bike. A street fighter is a sport bike stripped down to naked status and stylized with lean but powerful lines. These can often have an insect or animalistic type look to them. So some street fighter lore for you is that these were likely born out of the fact that fairings are very expensive to replace. So if someone got in an accident, a lot of them wouldn't want to pay to replace all those parts, and aftermarket fairings can be not as attractive and also not as structurally sound as the original manufacturer parts. So a lot of the sport bikes that would get in a wreck and not have the money or desire to replace their fairings became street fighters and started riding around with their guts exposed. So converting a traditional sport bike into a street fighter would of course involve removing the fairings, but it could also involve changing out the headlight and swapping out the handlebars for something more clip-on, cafe racer aggressive, or even a motocross handlebar. And this has become a very sought after look. And of course, when an innovative subculture really starts to take off, the manufacturers will take note, and they have developed their own street fighter bikes that come stock. One of the most notorious and on the nose ones is of course the Ducati Street Fighter, but there are also street fighter elements in a lot of these hyper naked motorcycles like the Yamaha MT FZ series, the KTM Super Duke, and something that straddles the line between modern classic and street fighter is the Triumph Speed Triple. Realistically, the only things that overlap when it comes to a Royal Enfield Classic and a Ducati Street Fighter is their distinct lack of fairings. So naked motorcycles are of course a spectrum of looks. They span a huge variety of eras, different manufacturers, and styles. Ultimately, naked is an all-encompassing term for bikes that pare down on plastics and get down to the bare bones of what makes a motorcycle. So what's your poison when it comes to bikes? Are you not so offended by fairings and prefer the aerodynamic benefits of them? Have you ever seen a bike that has criminally overdone or hideous fairings? Let me know in the comments. When it comes to naked bikes, what are your favorites? Did I miss anything important? My name's Meghan Stark. I myself ride a naked bike. It's a Ducati Scrambler Cafe Racer. And if you'd like to see more from me, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, and until next time, ride safe.